Welcome back, guys. Here we are. We're going to go ahead and start our new lesson, okay? Today our focus is over succession, and that is about how the environment changes over time. So let's dig deeper. First off, we're going to look at some pictures that are real. We're taken here on Earth. For example, this is a photo from Alaska. So on the left, this is what it looked like in 1917. This is really what it looked like. There was still water flowing, and there were icebergs. But here in 2005, here is the same location. This is the same mountain. But notice how the water is no longer there. So our Earth's surface changes over time, okay? We've seen this in glaciers melting. We've seen this in the Amazon rainforest changing over time, okay? We've also seen this with the Sahara Desert. It's actually becoming larger, so the desert is expanding. We've also seen the Earth change over time in California. We know that the fault lines are moving, causing the earthquakes, which changes Earth's surface as well. What we're going to focus on is the concept of succession. So this is our vocabulary word. It means the gradual and orderly process of change in an ecosystem. So let's break that down. Gradual means slow, and orderly means it goes in a certain order. So this means succession is this slow and going in a certain order process change in an ecosystem. That doesn't make sense. Let's rearrange it and put it together. Succession is the slow process of change in an ecosystem that has to go in a certain order. Okay? So let's look first at the two different types of succession, or types of ways, or the two different ways that Earth's surface changes. We have primary succession, secondary succession, and human-induced succession, okay? Today we're going to focus on these first two. Notice that primary means first, secondary means second. So primary succession happens first. Let's explore it. I want you to imagine that you have a brand new island. This volcano erupted and the lava is running down. That lava is going to cool to form a new island, okay? Your fresh new island is going to undergo primary succession, okay? That means the ecosystem is in a brand new area, your new island that never existed before. Well, it never existed, so that also means that there have never been plants or animals to live here. Primary succession is the process of the first forms of life becoming in a new area. Okay? So your volcano erupted to form an island, and now this is the process, succession. It's changing and adding life to your new island. Check it out. Your island has cooled, but it's just kind of lava rock right now, floating in the ocean. So we got to figure out what to do with it. Primary succession is where the plants and animals start to grow on your new island. Now, this could happen in any area that doesn't have life yet. It doesn't have to be an island, okay? But this is an example of where it could occur. Now, we need to remember that succession is very slow, and it has to go in order. So we're going to have to do a lot of waiting. It could take hundreds or even thousands of years before your island is fully developed. First thing we have is the new rock was formed. You have your island, or you could have new sand dunes. You have a new location, right? Something important to notice about your new location is that there is no soil, okay? In primary succession, we begin without soil. So we need to add on some pioneer species. Now you're probably asking, why did she say it so weird? I want you to remember pioneer species, just like we had our pilgrims who came to America for the first time, right? They were there first. I want you to connect that first letter together. Pioneer species, okay? They pioneered a way to create soil. Our species that are first to live here are going to include moss and lichens, okay? your moss is green, and your lichens are represented by the purple. You guys have probably seen moss before outside, on the trees, on the ground. It's the same type of moss. What they do is the lichens and moss work together, and they break down the rock. Over time, the broken down rock forms soil. After that, things can begin to grow. Now, I want you to understand, with succession, you start smallest to biggest, okay? So now that we have soil, first we're going to add grass. Grass will be the first plant to grow once the soil is formed. After that, flowers can begin to grow as well. Next, with your grass and flowers already grown, shrubs or bushes can begin to grow. They go in order because slowly more soil develops, and the larger plants need deeper soil to grow. After you have shrubs and bushes, your trees can sprout. Now, I want you to think, we need photosynthesis for plants to keep growing, right? When the trees grow, it provides shade for the other plants, so they don't get as much sun, meaning that the amount of other plants will slowly decrease to make room for the trees, okay? Our goal is to be balanced through equilibrium. Once your trees have finished developing, you'll notice that more plants and animals will join your island, okay? You'll notice you'll have animals like insects, like bees and butterflies, who are pollinators to pollinate your plants and produce more. And then you'll also have a whole food web. You'll have your primary consumers, secondary consumers, all the way up to your tertiary consumers. But we had to have our producers or our plants first before our community could reach equilibrium. In succession, when a community has reached equilibrium and is stable, we call that a climax community. It's a happy community. Now, you have your climax community. But just like how we have pioneer species who are first to our island, we have a climax community. Okay, I want you to remember those vocabulary terms. Here you can see your climax community. It's going great. You have your own island. You're rocking it. You've got plants and animals. What could go wrong, right? Oh, no. Fire. Your island caught on fire. What's going to happen from here? Your whole community just burned. Well, fire is an example of a disaster. It could also be something like a tornado, an earthquake, maybe the volcano erupts again. Any type of disaster can wipe out your environment, your climax community. Whenever something has wiped out your climax community, that's where we start secondary succession. Primary succession is the process of life first taking place in an area. Secondary succession is the process of life returning. In primary succession, the ecosystem is brand new, right? There were never plants or animals to live there. But now we're in secondary succession. That means my island used to be home to plants and animals. It had a climax community. So let's see what we can do. In secondary succession, okay, we're going to follow the same exact steps as primary succession, except there used to be life here, meaning there's already soil. So we can just skip ahead to the grass. So for secondary succession, we get to go straight to growing grass and flowers. After that, we're continuing the same order. Shrubs will grow, then trees, and then our animals will populate our community, bringing us to equilibrium and being in a climax community. Key points to remember about succession. Primary succession is first. It happens to brand new areas of land. Life never existed here. There's no soil. It starts with pioneer species that are called lichens and moss. Secondary succession happens where a disaster occurred. Life used to be here, so there is soil, meaning you get to skip ahead and start with grass. At the end of both, your goal is to have a climax community and where your ecosystem is stable with your plants and your animal populations. Go ahead and make sure that you've completed your notes. If not, please rewind this video to the place that you need it to be.